Hello, everyone. I'm Wendy De Rosa. I am in beautiful and sunny California this morning. And I would love to answer a question. We get a lot of questions coming in here at the School of Intuitive Studies. I thought this question was incredibly relevant, and it's a common question. It's a question many people have about intuition. Intuition, we know it as the internal voice. But intuition is actually very complex in the energy body, and different people experience intuition differently. So the question, I'll read you the question, and then I will address this more in detail. So the question is from Brett. His name is changed for the purpose of confidentiality. So he writes, "Hi, Wendy. Thank you for the opportunity to go further in my spiritual growth. I've been watching many of your videos, and although I find myself eager to learn more, I'm feeling that I'm not getting it. I find myself confused on the whole idea of visualizing things that I can't feel or see in a tangible way. It's frustrating. I think I need verification or clarification in some way to feel what I'm doing is accomplishing something. For example, sometimes I get goosebumps or tingles in my arms if I'm talking to someone about spiritual stuff. So I know my spirit is communicating with me, right? It doesn't seem to make sense to me how, by visualizing a white light of waterfall streaming down my back, can do something for me. I can see it in my mind, but not feel anything. What does energy look like? I'm sorry, I'm a bit confused. I hope you can clarify for me what I need to do. Thank you for your time. Blessings, Brett." So this is such a wonderful question in that I'm going to pull it apart a little bit because there's quite a bit to address in this. First of all, it is true. In my videos, I do say see or visualize. I use those terms often. And partly you're calling me out because it's not always true that people can see or visualize. There are 4 aspects of intuition. So there's the seeing, the hearing, the feeling, and the knowing. Each of them have a book to write about in terms of how you see, if we're talking about seeing here, how you see or what actually seeing means, because it's not always crystal clear visualizations and pictures. Some people are wonderful seers, but they don't see visually. They get higher perception and higher knowing, and that has a specific way that it looks and the energy system and in their experience. So when I'm saying seeing and you're on the other end saying, wait, I'm not seeing, what that's telling me is that seeing isn't the first form or way that your body intuits information. In fact, I can tell you by the response, by what you said, I get goosebumps or tingles in my arms. If I'm talking to someone about spiritual stuff, that tells me you are a claircognizant intuitive. So claircognizant people get the knowing, but they get the knowing sometimes through body sensations. And sometimes they get the deep knowing. I know, I don't know why I know, I just know that I know. And sometimes their body has a response like what I call the validation chills. That's the tingling. Sometimes it's a shiver. Sometimes it's something else in the body. So different people intuit information differently. And I hope that piece gives you enough information to know, okay, that's me. I'm someone who does get the chills. The visualization practice of allowing grace to move through your body, I give it as a visual, but that might not connect for you. And so the other aspect, claircognizance, part of the power of claircognizance is deep knowing and trust in self and trust in the divine within, the inner light, the inner sense of self. So it might be that the practice is, how do I lean into that? I'm giving the visualization of the pillar of light and the waterfall, but maybe that's not connecting for you. Maybe it's a sense of, how do I lean back into my inner knowing? I know, and that I trust that I know. And when you take that into the felt sense of your body, what comes to you? You know, what's the visual? Or maybe it's not the visual, what's the felt sense of that? That's what we're going for. So if I'm saying visualize, I'm inviting anybody who's listening to any of my videos to translate that in your system to how am I intuiting? How am I getting? How am I sensing? How am I feeling? So for your question here on what does energy look like, sorry, I'm a bit confused. So it's the important piece to here to understand is that and I tell this to my students in my intuitive healer training program all the time, is that it's important that you understand what type of intuitive you are and how your system intuits information specifically, because we want to validate that. We want to nurture that. The other aspects will eventually evolve. They may open up and they may never open up, and that's okay. You know, in this lifetime, that's okay. It's that you know your sense and you're able to connect and ground into your sense. And so for this reason, I said this earlier, that the sense of intuition is complicated. It's not as easy as let me tune into my inner voice, because then we have this other inner voice that will contradict that voice. So it's complicated, and we do need, or I should say complex. It's not negative, it's complex. There's more to understand, there's more to unravel in the energy system. And I am going to be teaching a new program through the Shift Network. Also, we're going to be doing a free call tomorrow to introduce this concept of the intuitive body as it relates to the chakras. It's called 4 Powers of Intuition for Sensitives and Empaths. Open new doorways of perception through the chakras. You may join whether you're an empath or not, whether you feel you're sensitive or not. This is valuable information about your intuitive body and how it relates to the power centers in your system. Now, how this call and course is different from previous ones that I have offered is that these are practical tools. I'm going to be offering practical application of intuition and how it works in the energy system and how the power centers relate to each other and how the aspects of intuition, the 4 aspects of intuition, relate to the chakras in the way that, for example, if you are an empath and you're a feeler, how do you shift into seeing, or how do you rely on other aspects of your intuitive body in order for you to not be so absorbent in the world? That's just an example. If you're a seer or you download, you receive information, how do you connect more powerfully to your lower chakras so that you can relate in the world with this work, with this gift? And we're going to be doing some healing. Previous courses really focus on healing energy, especially in the Foundations of Intuition course. By foundation, we're working with clearing deep energy blocks in the body and inviting you to connect to your intuition. This program takes it a step further in how do you apply your intuition practically to yourself and into the world. So I hope this makes sense, everyone, and certainly Brett, who sent in the question. And I will post the link to the free call tomorrow, or I'm sorry, it's going to be on Wednesday this week, and there'll be a replay as well if you can't make it live. Just register, and then you'll get the information through the Shift Network. They'll send that directly. And I send you many blessings. I appreciate the question. It helps me and it helps others so much. Sending you love from my heart, and I look forward to being in touch very soon.